Roy Willis retired last July from the Propane Education and Research Council, but we couldn't keep him away for too long. I always found Roy to be personable, professional, versatile. He exuded a confident, controlled leadership style during the council meetings. He could address a room effortlessly when talking about PERC activities or the propane industry. And near the end of his career, he was tweeting with the best of them. Looking back, Roy can say he executed on what he's called a demanding job in a complex organization in a diverse industry.
Roy Willis helped to lift the Propane Education and Research Council off the ground in March of 1998. Soon after the formation of the National Checkoff Program. Nearly 20 years later, PERC's first president and CEO was putting the finishing touches on a demanding and rewarding career. Willis retired last July after playing a key role in shaping the foundation of the Washington, D.C.-based organization. He became the 21-member council's recognizable face, speaker, and leader, representing the industry on television and radio, in print, and at meetings and conferences. With Willis's guidance, PERC produced public education programs, most notably the Energy Guys campaign, to boost propane's residential market share, and the Blue the Dog campaign to grow the awareness and consumer perceptions of propane. PERC became known for its safety and training programs under Willis. Bringing on the industry's Certified Employee Training Program was one of his first projects, as was the Propane Emergencies Training Program, still used today by fire departments and propane marketers around the country. Willis also oversaw PERC's research and development portfolio, which has helped to incubate and commercialize a wide array of clean, efficient, propane-powered vehicles, appliances, and equipment. Propane products such as school buses, lawn mowers, work trucks, grain dryers, generators, and irrigation engines hit the market during Willis's tenure, creating value for the industry. A former Navy veteran, Willis steered PERC through a 6-year period of limited outreach to the consumer market, following a government-imposed restriction. During that time, beginning in 2009, the Council shifted its focus to product development and attracting key manufacturing partners. After the restriction was lifted in 2015, Willis considered retirement, but instead chose to work with what he calls PERC 3.0, a hybrid organization combining consumer education with propane product development and commercialization. Willis's commitment to industry growth went beyond the state and national level. He also served as the founding chairman of the Global Technology Network in the World LPG Association, and a long-standing member of the World Association's Industry Council. At his final Propane Expo last year, Willis learned that a scholarship fund would be established in his name. In retirement, he has planned to devote more time to his other passions, his family, and his love for writing and painting.
It's not easy following the youngest inductee into the Hall of Fame. I mean, I'm at an age now where the candles cost more than the cake, and you need to get a permit from the fire marshal just to light them. So, but well deserved and well said, Mr. Weedi. Thank you. This was a completely unexpected but greatly appreciated honor. The honor comes not from anything that I've done, but by the association with the people who are already in the Hall of Fame, and the people in this industry who someday will be in the Hall of Fame. I've been privileged to work with many of them. I think 16 members of the Hall of Fame were either council members or leaders like Stuart of our advisory committee. So it's been a great experience in my life to work with probably, our industry's premier leaders, and I've learned a great deal about leadership from them. And I want to share some of those lessons tonight because I think it's the only opportunity I'll have to talk to you about something that means a lot to me, and what I've learned from our industry and what makes it unique and continues, even though, as Stuart pointed out, some folks think we're a mature industry, but yet we keep going, and that's a testament to the leadership and the belief in our industry that the folks, not only at the grassroots level, but in the corner offices have for our industry. Every member of the council comes to the council either from an appointment from NPGA or GPA, and they all come together and take off their company hats and really think about working and serving for the industry. They become living models of what is called servant leadership. They're not there for their own benefit, they're there to serve others. And that in and of itself is a leadership lesson that immediately came to heart to me. I think back to our first chairman, Milford Therrell, who with his dearest friend Glenn Miller, gave the example of leadership vision and the tenacity not to give up after, what was it, Rick, 3, 4, 5 years that you guys worked to get the legislation through Congress? That kind of vision and tenacity to make a change in our industry was something that just, I don't know, it inspired me from the very first day I went to work. I remember I got a phone call from Milford, and those of you who know it will understand this. It was about 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm asleep. The meeting doesn't start till 9 o'clock. The phone rings and Milford goes, "Are you up yet?" I am now. But Milford was an inspirational leader. He was followed by Darrell McClendon, who not only was the first chairman to raise the assessment rate, what a courage it took to do that at the time, but he was a master of execution, trying to figure out what the plan is, what steps were necessary to execute that plan, and then to stay on that execution of the plan, because plans are worthless words on paper unless you are willing to get up every day and work to make them happen. Darrell was a good chairman. Walter Cressman was the third chairman, our first real full-time treasurer. Created a system of accounting and finance accountability that has led to 2 decades of clean, unquestioned audits. That's a testament in itself. When you manage $40 to $50 million of other people's money, any indication of foul play or foolishness with that money is a death knell, and we set out to make sure that never happened. And Walter laid out the foundation that has served our industry for 2 decades. David Lugar, God rest his soul, was, as chairman, launched something called the Market Development Task Force, which led to the first time that in any PERC document the word commercialization ever showed up. He was a forward-thinking guy, and we miss him, but we learned from him that not to be satisfied with where we are, but what we can be. And I admire his leadership. John Goronsky was the only producer to be elected chairman of the council, and his example of leadership was how valuable it is and how essential it is to nurture those professional relationships and strategic alliances. He was a master at that. Otherwise, he would have never been elected to chairman as a producer. Glenn Saunders, to me, he helped me in a couple of ways, but he personified the value and the dignity and the nobility of the family business heritage of our industry and what value it brings to our culture as an industry. I will never forget the lesson I learned from him on that value of the small business, family business heritage of our industry. Bill Platts, poor guy, was the chairman of PERC when the restriction hit and the GAO launched an investigation into PERC's first 10 years of operation. I referred to it as the administrative equivalent of a proctology exam. But Bill had probably I used to say he's got sort of like a Zen mentality, and maybe that comes from California, I don't know. He did tell me that he did sell propane to some cannabis producers, but I don't think that was his deal. But in other words, his whole message to us was, look, we did what we were supposed to do under the law, and so let's go into these challenges with all the confidence that we did the right thing. And as he pointed out afterwards, hey, we're still standing. So Bill, I thank you for his leadership. Christina's here, and I want to say something about Joe Armentano, because Joe was an extraordinary chairman, because during the restriction, obviously, the organization that was set up essentially to do a lot of consumer ed campaign and little consumer or commercialization didn't fit any longer. We had hoped that the restriction was going to be lifted quickly, but when it became apparent that it was going to be a slug, Joe understood the essential requirement to right-size an organization and make sure that it was organized in a way that was effective and efficient for not only the new mission in front of us, but also address the market challenges and opportunities it faced, and was courageous enough to take the slings and arrows that came at him for making that change. So I salute him and learned an important lesson from Joe Armentano. Paula Wilson was the only woman to serve as chairman, and this is a hint, Brian, that when you do open up the Women in Propane wing of the Hall of Fame, she should be one of, along with Nancy Coop and Natalie Peel, some of the first inductees. Paula is a consummate marketing mind and did a great deal to prepare us for the relaunch of marketing once the restriction was lifted. Thank you, Rick, and your team for doing what y'all did. I sit back, and a lot of people think that PERC has done a lot in terms of transformation of the industry, but what you have done to lead NPGA, because when I first came to PERC, I went to Lisle, Illinois to see the head of PERC, but you have transformed NPGA, rather. You've transformed it in ways that I don't think you get the level of recognition that you deserve for it. And I want to compliment you and thank you for being such a good collaborating partner for us. I've only got 16 more slides to go through, so stick with me. Got a few more people I want to thank. Certainly Tom Van Buren was the last chairman, and among other things, he led our succession planning program that I think it was not only successful, but is going to pay dividends to our industry for years to come. And then finally, Drew Combs, who I only got to serve with him. Well, he was a member of the executive committee, but as chairman only for one of his meetings. But Drew was a wise man who understood that no matter how good your strategy is, no matter how good you have executed on that strategy, you need to review it and reconsider other options. And he took a deep dive in PERC strategy, and I admired his leadership throughout that process. I got a lot of credit as PERC CEO for the work that the PERC staff did. A remarkable group of people that I am deeply grateful to have worked with. Brian Fien's here tonight, who was our first director of Autogas, vice president of Autogas, now president of the Industrial Truck Association. A remarkable achievement in and of itself. A much bigger organization than PERC. Tucker Perkins, our current CEO, came on at a really important time in PERC's history as our Director of Business Development, or Chief Business Development Officer. Sorry, didn't mean to demote you there. We had this portfolio of products that were works in progress. Thank you, Stuart, for filling the pipeline, because he did. He definitely filled the pipeline. And when you have all those projects that are sort of under development, keeping them on task, on schedule, and actually dealing with the challenges that come with launching new products. You did that, brother, and you did it extraordinarily well. And most of the products that we talk about today, I don't think would have ever come to market and been as successful if it hadn't been for the way that you managed our manufacturing partners. And I salute you for that. And I wish you well in your new role as the PERC CEO. I told Tucker it can't get better unless it changes, so go at it. And he took that advice to heart. Also, and it kind of goes to that family business kind of heritage of our industry, there's another PERC staffer here that I want to personally acknowledge, our Director of Strategic Operations, who started as an intern and has become someone who I admire professionally, but I'm not a bit surprised at her success. I mean, she was an NCAA scholarship athlete and a national champion before she ever came to PERC. So I want to say how much I miss not being able to go from my office to walk down the hall to get my fix of Grace. So Grace Willis, thank you for you do. And so my second child, Grace, thank you for being here. And my fourth child, Margot Tomlinson, and her husband, Jeremy. Glad you're here. Sorry our first child and our third child were unable to make it here tonight. We call them our odd children. Can you edit that? I see you taping that. I'll be in trouble. But I share with Stuart the essential nature of the relationship. Margaret and I have been married for almost 43 years. She was my college sweetheart, the mother of our 4 children, and unfortunately wasn't able to join us here tonight. I miss her dearly, and during all the road trips, I have probably spoken to hundreds of propane audiences in the last 20 years, and every time I saw her face, I knew I was home. And I love you. Thank you, Mark. And lastly, I want to thank Boudreaux. I've made a living off of Boudreaux's jokes, but I called him and told him about all this, and he said, well, Roy said, my only lesson to you is to leave them laughing. And I said, well, all right, I'll do that. He says, well, tell them that I've changed my name. I said, what? He said, oh, yeah. He said, I went down to the courthouse and told them, I said, look, everybody's been making fun of me and everything, and so I wanted to change my name. The judge asked me, he says, well, what's your name? He said, well, my name is Poo-Poo Boudreaux. I said, oh, well, I can understand why you want to change your name. He said, well, what do you want to change it to? He said, Poo-Poo Smith. Thank you. God bless you.